With social media, most people think that ultra runners are all these super elite, sponsored, just genetically gifted human beings. And while sometimes that's true, the fact is that most of us are just normal people with jobs, families, and responsibilities. I'm super excited today. I have Steve Huffine on the show. He's a nurse, he's a Leadville 100 finisher, and he's a family man and the guy behind Ultrafine Running on Instagram. And if you've seen his content, you already know he's not out there pretending to be perfect. He's showing us what it actually looks like when you got a job and kids and responsibilities, and you're still chasing big miles. And I'm super pumped to talk to him. Welcome to the UltraNurse Podcast. This is where we run long and work even longer. I'm your host, Brad, a flight nurse, paramedic, dad of 3, and a mid-of-the-pack ultra runner just trying to figure this whole endurance thing out 1 mile at a time. This podcast is about running, especially long, all while balancing shift work, family, and everything else that comes with real life. But yeah, so I am just super excited to have you on. And so when I found you on Instagram, I don't know, like you're a normal dude. It's just kind of connected because you work in healthcare too, like myself.
Sure.
And I'm like, I think he's like my long lost brother. And when he's got like a southern draw. He's more handsome. You're a little bit faster than I am, but yeah. So I don't know. Thanks for coming on, Steve. Or you go by Steve or Steven?
Yeah, either one. Steven's fine. And super stoked to be here and looking forward to connecting. Yeah, once you reached out and I saw that, your name is like, the ultra running nurse, I loved it. And so, being previously in healthcare and then now kind of working in software and things like that, I feel like I've seen a little bit of all the worlds. And so, just stoked to be here.
All right, cool, man. So just tell everybody a quick, brief description or a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so my name's Steven. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, 31 years old. I previously was an ICU nurse, and now I'm a HIPAA privacy officer for a software company. But I like to run. I prefer to run really far versus speed work. I'm doing a dedicated speed block right now, trying to qualify for Boston next month in Nashville. And so that's been a fun journey because everybody's like, you're crazy for even trying to run, quickly in Nashville just because it's so hilly. And it's fun. I'm kind of treating it like an ultra. And so that's been cool. But honestly, got into running about 2 years ago, ran a half marathon, got hooked. And then I was kind of like, well, how far can we go? And so the same year, 10 months later after that half, I actually, through a series of events, got a spot into the Leadville 100 and ran that race, which just honestly changed my life and just the view on everything. And then now I've done another 100 after that as well. And so I got a couple in the books for this year. And I'm married, been married for 10 years now. I've got one son. We've got one on the way coming this summer. So that will spice things up with training and things like that. But just kind of started social media to just try to be another, normal voice for people. And I feel like there was kind of a gap of you see all this elite and pro content and there's not many, people that are in the trenches of raising young kids and having full-time jobs and just trying to be, somebody else to be relatable along the way for that. So it's been a really cool process the last couple months.
I heard Leadville and my ears popped up because I signed up for an altitude race and I'm up in Dubuque, Iowa. So I'm like,
okay,
I'm basically sea level too. So
sure.
How did you do out there in Leadville?
Man, Leadville. I had no idea what I was really getting myself into when we got a spot. I was able to get a spot through Scratch Labs. I put my name in the lottery, did the whole thing like everybody does and didn't get a spot. But we actually posted a documentary on YouTube called Cross the Line that kind of goes into a little more detail of that whole journey. But essentially January 1st of that year, it was last year, I kind of said, hey, I'm going to train like I'm running the Leadville 100 and I don't have a spot. And so we just started just cranking out hill repeats here and running when it was as hot as possible and just getting as much mileage as I could, while staying healthy. And so with young kids, it looked a lot like, running at 3 a.m. and trying to, run 20, 25 miles before the family woke up. And it was a incredibly tough race. Knowing what I know now, I think I could, obviously, like most people, they think they could do better the next time. I learned a lot as far as just that was my first 100. learned a lot about kind of what it meant to pace well. And nutrition is by far the hardest part of ultras, I feel like. I actually met with Jeff Cunningham. He's one of the BPN coaches, and just he was like, "Hey man, just give me a call. Like, I'm happy to talk to you about what we've learned from Leadville whenever he did it with Nick Bear." And he said, honestly, 100 milers, man, are just jogging competitions with some eating in between, or eating competitions with some jogging in between. And so that I was like, that's crazy. And now that I've run two of them, I couldn't agree more. You're just trying to figure out, like, I need to get as much food in as possible and still keep moving. And so it was just, you felt like you were breathing through a straw the whole time. We got out there 2 weeks early, and I did all the things I feel like somebody who lives at sea level could do. But those that can train out there definitely had a leg up on the sea level people. But it went well. We were able to finish. Like most people, I was trying to go for the big buckle, which is 25 hours, and we were on track for that until I came back from Hope Pass. So if you're not familiar with Leadville, you essentially climb a mountain in the middle around 50, and it's just this brutal. You get up over 12,000 feet, and that usually crushes most people's dreams. Like that, most people don't come back from, one, they'll either get cut off. That's what kind of is so difficult about that is the time cutoffs are so tight for that race. Like you've got to move quickly until you get back from Hope Pass. And anyways, we got back, and we knew that was going to be a tough goal to hit at that point. We were just like, we just need to keep moving, and we may still pull this off. And so we ended up finishing in 28 hours, and it was super cool coming in at golden hour with everybody. And it was just a wild experience. So if you ever run it, I definitely think like the most you can do, like I would do a lot more probably leg training to try to just like get my legs as bulletproof as I can. Cause my quads were done, by about mile 60, cause you're doing so much uphill and downhill, just constantly switching. And yeah, it was wild. It was wild. It was definitely the coolest thing. Like, what an atmosphere! It'll change your life. So I'm gonna always put my name in the lottery, and I hope to get back one day. But it was rowdy.
So that was your first 100 was Leadville?
It was, yeah.
Dude, you're
Which it seems like
crazy.
a lot of people kind of do that. Yeah, but when I told people, they're like, I'm like, oh, I'm running 100 miler. They're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, Leadville. They're like the Leadville. I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't know. I was new into the scene, and like I didn't know what we were getting into. And like a lot of people, I just heard like this mystery of like this Leadville race. And so when I got a spot through Scratch Labs, I was like, well, we got to try. Like we at this point we got a spot. And so I had an incredible crew, and it was great. But the documentary, we go into a lot more detail on YouTube if anybody's interested in kind of, it's a little bit longer. It's about an hour long. Actually has some kind of highs and lows. There was a lot of things that happened, kind of just emotional highs and lows. My wife was actually pregnant during that time, and ended up having, like, I found out at the finish line. I won't spoil the whole thing. We found out the gender and things like that. But the documentary it goes into some detail of just real life running. Would be the best way I can kind of get into it.
Yeah, I watched it. I recommend everybody watching it. It's super awesome. It's a good documentary, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So I was actually in the lottery this year, and didn't get in, obviously, but I signed up for something dumber. I'm gonna
Okay.
go to the Ure, and
Okay.
I got a
No
couple
kidding.
hundreds under my belt, but so I'm like terrified. So I seen you did Leadville. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna talk to. I'm gonna. What advice would he give me? Like, if you
For
got one
sure.
piece of advice to give me, just because I'm scared of storms and,
Sure.
well, obviously altitude. So, and I can't do anything
Absolutely.
about storms, but I
Yeah.
can do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so definitely. Like I ran into an issue coming back about mile 78, coming back towards Leadville. Things were great. We left Twin Lakes. Everybody was warm. Like the weather was nice. And then just overnight, I mean, it was just an experience on our side. It dropped like, 20, 30 degrees. It got right at freezing, and we were not prepared with the gear that we had on. And if I wouldn't have had more jackets and gloves and gear at that next aid station, like I probably would have had to DNF. I'd gotten so cold. And so I would say for you, definitely training for that, as coming from sea level, things like that. One, like do as much, mileage that you can safely do to stay healthy. Like I think mileage, not only for marathons, but for ultras, like it just helps you're getting used to running on tired legs. Like, I did tons of back to backs. Like, a lot of people talk about those doing, a 25 or 30 mile day Saturday, and then another 20 miler on Sunday. And that helps a lot. I think if you can spend some time running in the dark, that's pretty disorienting for people, myself included. You're thinking, oh, like we're gonna make some good time. Well, I'm picking up pacers, like things are gonna be good, but like running in the dark, you're trying to just like not fall the whole time, and
Mhm.
that's tough. So definitely doing some night running, just getting more used to your gear and headlamps, and switching things out. I did learn something that I'll never make a mistake of again during my last 100. Which, long story short, I was concerned with having a bunch of weight on me, and so I decided to put my spare headlamp batteries in the next drop bag that I was going to get to. Like I knew I was going to have plenty of time, and that is a mistake I will never make again. Anybody who ever runs an ultra, I don't care how much they weigh, carry every battery you want on your person, because it only works if you make it to your drop bag when you think you will. And things, don't always work that way. And so, yeah, we honestly, if a volunteer wouldn't have given me their headlamp in my last 100 miler, I would have been in a spot. We're out there trying to like use our watch lights and our phone lights, and trudging through the woods in the middle of the Kentucky backwoods, and it was just a mess. So definitely spare batteries and things like that. But I think if you can get some mileage under your legs and run when it's hot outside, they kind of call it the poor man's altitude training.
Mhm.
Just make yourself as miserable as you kind of can. When it comes to heat training and things like that, that helps a whole lot when you get out there. Ouray is I've heard substantially harder than
Oh,
Leadville, so I think you're in for a spicy race with that. But I think you can, if you can get out there. I think they, with young kids, I could only kind of be out there about a week and a half before the race, and so if you could get a chance, they say I think two plus weeks is about the sweet spot. It takes longer than that, but if you can be out there, maybe I know you don't necessarily have a job where you can work remotely, but maybe you can front end and back end some of your days so you could get out there a little longer. I think being at altitude, before the race will help you a lot.
yeah, I'm gonna do 12. I could do 12 days, so I'm gonna try
Yep,
it. So
I
I'm
would
gonna do
do
the
it.
full 12, and then I'm gonna head right down there too. I'm not stopping at Denver. I'm gonna get up to that
Okay.
8,000 feet, try sleeping
Yep.
there, and yeah, like, and you mentioned something about trying to not do as much mileage as possible without getting hurt, and that's why I love your content, because you really stress like, hey, you know, most of us can't do like 100. I know there's huge influencers
Sure.
out there that are like
Sure.
just racking up 100 miles every week, right? And that's
Yeah.
like
I mean,
totally
130,
unsustainable.
130, 140 plus. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And like, I think that like there's a good chunk of the population out there that has no clue, and they're getting into this sport, and they're seeing that and they
Yeah.
think that that's normal.
Yeah.
And man, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, so like for this block right now, I've got one of my buddies who's like a 230 marathoner. He's an incredible friend. And he was like, hey, I can kind of coach you for this marathon block, for dedicated speed work, because I've never really done that before. And so he's got me peaking. This is actually my peak week. I'm supposed to hit 100 this week, but it's taken, 2 years of getting up to that. Like, that was, 70 is kind of my sweet spot. I like that a lot because I can kind of do 10 each day, run a 20 on Saturday, and then have Sunday off. I like that number a lot. But honestly, that 50 to 70, that's going to be where the majority of like, your normal runner that has a full-time job, like that's going to be that kind of safe area. But it's really unique for everybody. I mean, like, I've got some friends that run 40-mile weeks and they are way faster than me. And like they're cooking, 230 marathons, like that's what they've just got, but they ran in college, they're collegiate runners and things like that. Yeah. So it's unique for everybody, but I think the biggest thing is you've got to go into it slow, building up to that mileage, because like I've like most people, I've had some kind of small injuries along the way, nothing that's fully sidelined me. But I mean, even right now, like my legs are feeling this week. I'm kind of playing with it slowly here and talking with him closely as far as like, all right, this is pretty sore. It's not really painful. Like we're just trying to play the game of like you want to get that the response from the body and like stress it, but you don't want to take it so far that you can't bounce back, because at this point we're 4 weeks out from Nashville, so I don't have too much time to mess with if we do get hurt. So
So have you always used a coach, or
yeah, so this would be the first time I've ever had one. So for the first about a year and a half of training for Leadville, things like that. I mean, I talked to a lot of. I would kind of find people on Ultra Sign Up and those that had ran Leadville that were from Tennessee, and just would honestly send them a DM and be like, "Hey man, would you be willing to talk?" And kind of just like I stitched together a lot of the things that I heard from other runners, and I didn't have a coach, and we hung out about 80 miles per week for about 3 or so months before Leadville last year through the summer, and just primarily doing trail work and all of that. And it worked well, but it was very much of like I just blended a bunch of groups together. Do I think I could have probably optimized more now that I know what I've learned, doing speed work and things like that. Absolutely. But we still improved, and, you learn along the way regardless. And I always tell people too, I'm like, it's not that deep. I'm like, we're all 30-year-olds, whatever. Like,
Mhm.
this is, have fun, have a good time. If you're just making yourself miserable or chasing these arbitrary times, like, that's not the point. Like, we're out of high school, we're out of college.
Mhm.
Like, just do, you're having a good time and enjoying it. Like, I truly love it. But that, my mileage and like getting up at 3 a.m. or things like that, that's not, like, that doesn't sound fun to everybody, and it's okay. Like, you do what is enjoyable to you. Like, I mean, along the way, because it's really not that deep. It's just meant to have a good time.
There is like that in this sport, there is that fine line because we all like, I feel that we all want to like go out and challenge ourselves and do these like epic things. But yeah, like sometimes it's so easy to like lose track of like it needs to be fun, right? You need to
For sure.
enjoy it. Like it can't be all like misery and like the like struggle and
Yeah.
all that, you know. But it's funny that like, so you're doing speed work now too, because I went out and I got a coach for this, and because
Okay.
I kind of recognize I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing,
Oh, for sure. No, for
and like through my eyes, he exposed areas that I was like totally oblivious about. Like the speed work is
yeah.
nuts. I've never done it, and
Yeah. So,
ouch.
I mean, same. All I did was just like, just time on feet. Like, that's what I did for the majority of the time. And I do think if I would have spent even just one day a week doing some speed work, like, I would have gotten my VO2 so much higher. Like, I would have been a lot more fit. Not that I'm going to be running at that speed, but my body would have been a lot more efficient at processing kind of what's going on versus just, I was only doing aerobic work. And so, you learn along the way, but I will say, when I started this block in January, I mean, just January and February, when I started introducing, we're doing 2 speed workouts a week right now. Like, I mean, my pace has exploded. My
Mhm.
heart rate is just like, it's like 40 resting now. I mean, all these things are clearly showing improvement. But I don't enjoy speed work. I will be the first to say, like, it's not a good time. I would rather run 100 miles than go out and do these 3x5, marathon workouts and things like that. And so, I actually posted a video about it the other day, and it like blew up. People were like, "Oh, 100% trails are way better. Like, running far is a great time." Like, so it's one of those things. But I do think it's essential to improve. You've got to, if you never taste that speed, your body kind of like it gets really efficient at moving slowly, but you're kind of capped out. And I did plateau until I started doing that speed work. So, something that I would definitely say, if you're not doing it, start out at least one day a week. And there's so many different ways, doing intervals or tempo work. And, when you first do it, you're going to have longer rest in between and things like that, but it will get better. I mean, even just a couple months ago, like, I couldn't hold marathon pace. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why am I picking this time? And then now it's like, okay, like, it's still not going to be great, but maybe we can do this, and that's just in a couple months of being consistent with it. So that's part of the game and learning along the way.
Yeah, so okay, so like reading your bio, I'll leave like the Leadville training stuff because I want to talk to us. Like, so you worked in ICU, right, for
Yeah.
years, and now you're
Yeah.
doing HIPAA compliance or something more along that line. So what do you think? Because I do nursing, and what do you think? Like your background in healthcare, do you think that that's given you some advantages to running some of these dumb
I
races
would
that we
think
do?
so. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too, when you get into the hundreds, like, there's just so many things at that distance that can go wrong. Like, you're constantly kind of problem solving along the way. Like, I still joke with one of my buddies of like coming into one of the aid stations, and I had like one of the worst side stitches of my life coming in, and I'm like, I could die today. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. But it's kind of like this, okay, like, you can feel your pulse, like, you can watch your metrics that you're used to. I was a cardiac ICU nurse, so like, I know enough about the heart to be dangerous. And
Yeah.
so I'm at least like, okay, is this chest pain, or is this
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm just exhausted, or is this actually like concerning? Like, do I have, problems that I need to actually go get seen, viewed about? And so I do think it helps. And it honestly, I think it's gotten to where I was so used to stressful situations at work. Like, I worked in the COVID ICUs and did all of that for years before I switched for the job I work at now. And like, you got so used to just kind of like, I guess, they call it the trauma bond, and, you're working through just high stress scenarios of life and death every day. And so it kind of made these things seem pretty arbitrary. Like, when you get into these 100 miles, you're like, hey, I've got food, I've got water. we're going to be all right. Like we can just keep moving forward. Like I don't need to, you get some of these guys and people that get into it, they get very like they start mentally thinking too much during the race, and I think you kind of have to disconnect yourself from those like whatever situation you're in. I think you've got to think bigger picture, not so much of like, okay, I've got this problem right now, and this is going to be like problematic. I think you more so like, okay, like yes, we've got this little issue going on, but we just got to make it 10 more miles to this next section. We can reload this, and I think it's a lot more of kind of just thinking bigger than being so pinpoint on items. And it's hard if you've never been in those situations where you're used to kind of thinking 10 steps ahead. When you're running a code on a patient, it's not that you're thinking like, okay, I'm doing my chest compressions right now, or I'm running ACLS protocol. You're thinking, okay, if this wasn't working, what are we trying next? And so you're kind of thinking through. Same thing with your nutrition. I feel like in a race, like if do I need more sodium? Do I need more calories? So you're kind of thinking through that. So I do think it's helpful, especially for you. So you're a flight nurse, correct?
Yeah, I'm a princess now. I'm a princess.
Okay.
So so my background, I did paramedic stuff. I did on the
Okay.
ground, the rig stuff for years, and then I got my nursing, and then did ER and work flight, and I gave up the ER like a year ago. Yeah, so that I was gonna ask you that too. So like, like what made you go into more of like the not administrative, but like
Sure.
like the compliance side? What made you kind of, because I know a ton of people that are like, I did ICU for a while. Now I'm doing like, what do I want to call it? Like an administrative role now. Still
Yeah.
doing nursing, but
Sure. Sure.
it's just a different branch of nursing. So
Yeah, it was kind of several things that all lined up at once. So, I mean, so I graduated nursing school in 2016 and was working in the ICU straight out of school. Did that for several years, and then they, obviously COVID happens in 2020. They, we're starting to float between the COVID ICUs. I was essentially, in Tennessee at the time. Nurses, and honestly, still now, like they didn't make a lot of money at all, and so I was working PRN, but working full time hours just to make as much money as
yeah,
I could. And so, which is what a lot of people do. And so, I was actually working in joint replacement, working in the OR, doing some, second assist stuff, and it was a great time. I enjoyed all of that. Well, then COVID happens. They cancel elective surgery, so I can't work in there anymore. I'm getting floated to these COVID ICUs. That is just brutal. We're like
mm,
tripled with ventilators and just like not getting lunches, and you know how it goes. And so,
yeah,
that was not enjoyable. And I'm like, I could go, no disgrace to Chick-fil-A, but I'm like, I could go work at Chick-fil-A and make the
hmm,
same money I'm making as a nurse. And so it was just brutal at the time. Well, then, long story short, had an opportunity. Somebody came in, they're like, hey, would you want to work part-time at this software company? We're looking for some people to help. I'm like, well, sure. Like I'm open to listen about it. Did that for a couple months, and they're like, hey, quit your nursing job, come on full time. Like, we would love to have you. So I did that, haven't really looked back. And it's just been like, it's a fully remote job. And we don't have a physical office, and just a lot better pay, a lot better schedule. I was tired of working every weekend. My wife's having to go
yeah.
to weddings by herself, and, things like that. And so just, it worked out to be for this company now. And so it's been good. So definitely, there's plenty of things that I miss about. I enjoyed the high stress, like I love doing, running codes and things like that. But as you know, like that's not the everyday things. You're there's a lot of other just kind of grunt work along the way that's pretty brutal. But I always enjoyed getting the patients off the helipad. That was one of my favorite things. We would be, doing compressions coming off into the
Oh.
elevator, and it was a good time. So
We're such
um
divas. I got a good gig. I can't complain. And
yeah,
I have mad respect for anybody that could work inside the walls. I really do. And like the thing about me is too, like yeah, I work flight. It's pretty glorious, right? But like I have the utmost respect because like you're serving in your own way right now. Like
sure.
your job needs to be done. That's the way you're
Yep.
serving right now. So mad
Yep.
respect to you, and like I tell people all the time, you have to like do what's best for you and your family. Like I work 2 days a week. That's what's best for me and my family right now. And I'm
Yeah,
compensated.
for sure.
Okay. I mean, so like, yeah, mad respect to you for, yeah, doing what was best for you and your family. And yeah.
Well, and definitely, like, I mean, I'm pretty vocal about it on my page as well. Like, faith is very important to me,
Hmm.
and I was tired of working every Sunday, like missing church, and
Yeah.
like that just was something that turned into a non-negotiable. And so that's just how the cards played out, and I'm super thankful for the opportunity that came up along the way. And so, yeah, I always laugh. One of the pilots told me something one time when I was getting a patient off the helipad. They're like, I was like, man, it was a really windy day, like it was rough for coming in for them to land, and I I told the pilot, I was like, man, that was great. Like, you did a great job today. He said, man, I don't have anybody shooting at me today. This is way easy to land on top of these roofs. And so he was just talking about coming from like, he was a, former military. He was like, I'm used to getting shot at the whole time. So this was good.
Yeah. So what's on your agenda for this year then? Like your races?
Sure. So the big kind of A race right now is we're 30 days out from it's like 30 days today, so 1 month out from Nashville Rock and Roll, trying to go sub 250. So we'll see.
Nice.
A BQ is 255, but you have to have quite a big, pretty big buffer. So we're going to try to go sub 250 and see. I would love to try to get top 10 overall. Like it's a hilly course, got over 1,000 foot of gain. So the biggest player is going to be what the temperature's like. Some years it's been like 40 degrees. Last year it was like 80 by the finished. So, if it's 80 degrees, we're going to be doing ice bandanas and just trying to be as cold as we can along the way. And we'll see what happens. I'm as fit as I've ever been, so I'm looking forward to giving it a try. And then a couple weeks after that, haven't really posted about it. It's kind of a little secret thing that we're wanting to do. But long story short, I'm doing a 100-miler on a track in May 15th, and so we're going to try to go do a speed trial and see like how fast can we run 100 miles. And so kind of the running joke is I want to like help put my son to bed Friday night. And then I want to say, hey, I'll be back for bedtime tomorrow night. And so that's the goal. We're going to try to go out and try to go somewhere around 20 hours. We'll see. And so that'll be a kind of be fun. And then we're having our next baby in June time, somewhere in there. I was supposed to be running the last man standing in June, but I think that's probably going to be a little too close to everything. So we'll kick that one. And then kind of the 100-miler is going to be in October. It's called No Business 100. It's a 102-mile loop that goes through Tennessee and Kentucky. If anybody ever wants like one of the prettiest races in the East, it is incredible. It's got like 15,000 foot of gain, but like just in a great course. The volunteers are phenomenal. Just great race director. Couldn't recommend it enough. And each year they change the direction. So last year I ran it. So this year I'll get to run it the other way. And then they do like a big buckle if you run it in both directions. So that would be cool. We're going to run it pretty quick. We've got the same guy that did our documentary for Leadville. He's going to come out and film a documentary for No Business. I've got a couple brothers coming to run out with me, and so it's kind of like to turn into this like no business between brothers, and we're going to see who can win. So yeah, it should be a good time, and so that'll be in October, and lots of 50Ks and some marathons and stuff like that along the way throughout the fall. But so what about you? So you've got Ouray, and then what else?
I'm going to do Ouray. I'm doing a 50K here in a couple weeks, Loud Thunder, and then just a Mines of Spain up in Dubuque. It's right along the Mississippi River. It's a beautiful race. It actually is. So, yeah, so that's just 3 of them. I got 3 kids myself, so we're slammed. Yeah. You got 1 or 2 now?
Yeah, so we've got 1, and then the second will be born in a couple months. So we'll be
congrats. What a blessing. Kids are just a blessing. I
appreciate
it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So but yeah, that's all I got going.
In today's time, like, yeah, man, like it's such a negative outlook I feel like most people have on kids, and like it's the best thing ever, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, people, you kind of sometimes will get into the mindset of like, man, if I could just train 100% of my time, like not even have a job or like not have to worry about getting to wake up for kids. But I'm like, at the end of the day, like I wouldn't want it another way. And like my family is the most important thing to me. And it's so cool now. Like now that our son he's 2.5. And so he, is at the finish lines with me and wants to, run across the finish line. And like, that is the coolest thing, like knowing he's waiting for me. And he's very much watching this whole process. And like, every time I wake him up, he's like, Daddy running this morning? I'm like, yeah. And so it's been cool to just see that progress and hoping to, maybe he'll want to run as he gets older and things like that. I mean, I didn't start running until I was, I guess 29 or 30. Like I didn't start running until later in life. I played tennis in high school, but kind of had a whole journey with that. I mean, I used to weigh like 240 pounds. I lost 80 pounds through this whole journey. And so learned a lot along the way. And so it's been cool just to get into running later. But you always have that thought of like, man, what would it have been like if I would have been running in high school? But I talked to my buddies that ran in high school and they're like, oh, we're burned out, dude. We don't want to run anymore. Like, so I'm glad that I still have like that enjoyment for it.
Dude, we're so similar. It's like beyond crazy. Like we have very similar stories. My kids are a little older, but I've spent thousands of miles with my kids in a stroller. and
Sick.
just training like that. But they make me a better runner now. And
For
like when
sure.
people are like, "Oh, how do you know that you're almost selfish because you're doing all these miles in this time," and I'm like, they're fine at home. They're sleeping most of the time because
Yeah.
we're out in the early
Yep.
morning hours. But they like I don't run to prove anything to them, but they see the commitment in like the sacrifice and the work that I put towards this and achieving goals. And like
For
I got
sure.
a 13-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son that play sports, and I try to tell them that's not everything, but they work hard now.
Yeah.
And so like it's like, well, I'm doing it for me, yeah, but I'm also
Yeah.
doing it for them too, you know.
For
But
sure.
yeah,
Well, and
so
that's super cool to hear, like, the same thing, like, I'm looking forward to as my kids get older too, like, to hear that they still have this, like, respect for you, and, like, that says a lot about you as being a dad, like, that you're still present enough to, be there for their sporting events and, like, for them to see the drive along the way, and that's something that I try to really weave into my content too, of, like, people say all the same things to you. They're like, "Training for ultras is gonna ruin your marriage, like, your kids, like, nobody's gonna like you for doing this, like, it takes all your time up, blah, 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 blah," and one, like, I'm just like, people like misery loves company. I feel like in a lot of ways, like I'm like, just because your marriage is not necessarily going well, like we've found something that works well for us, and like my spouse is phenomenal. I could never do this without couldn't chase these dreams without her support. But I do think there's a way to find a balance, and that as a dad, like it's like, hey, if I want to go run 25 miles, like that just means I get up at 3. I'm gonna go run it and make it happen, and like I'm not gonna complain about it. I may be tired, but like that's part of the grind, and like go from there. And then there's also some days of like, hey, I got up at 3 and my kid's sick and I'm not going to get to run today. And like, I need to not let that like affect me so heavily. That's something I'm still working on too. Of like, you get so structured, especially in this plan. Like yesterday was a great example. I was supposed to run like an 18-mile workout, and my wife felt terrible. My son was sick overnight, and I'm like, like I don't need to leave this morning, even if they're still kind of sleeping. Like it's just not going to work out. So I'm like, hey, missed that workout, and like now I'm kind of a little sickly too. I kind of caught whatever they got, but it's just part of it, and you just keep moving forward. And I think as a parent, like you've got to be able to give yourself some grace, especially training as a 30-plus-year-old person with kids and a job. Like it's just part of the game, and trying to be more of a voice for people of like, hey, this stuff these influencers are saying, these the elite content, like that like that's their job. Like if you listen to some of them, of like that's literally, they wake up, they run, they eat lunch, they take a nap, they go do their second workout, and they go to bed and sleep like 9 to 10 hours a day. Like that's their job. And like I think it's incredible what the human body can do. And like no disrespect to what they do, but you can't compare yourself. Like we're all in different seasons, and that's something that I'm trying to really be better at. Of like, hey,
I'm gonna hit you
sure,
with 5 rapid fires. I just wrote these down because I thought it'd be cool
okay.
to do. So, favorite shoe,
Oh man, A6 Mega Blast.
best race that you've done.
Yeah. I'm torn between my 200 milers, man. They're just completely different vibes. Like Leadville 100 changed my life. Absolutely incredible. Like, can't recommend it enough. But No Business 100 was such a cool vibe of like all the athletes had dinner the night before and like
Oh,
had a
that's
big
sweet.
round table, like just hanging out with everybody. Like it was a smaller race. Like you only had a couple hundred runners. So like very different vibes, but both had great, just
We'll go for
incredible.
a
But it's not,
tie.
yeah, we'll go for it. It's a close tie on that. So
Your go-to feel on 100.
yeah, so I do a little bit of, I love aid station mashed potatoes and broth,
Awesome.
but kind of throughout the whole race, I'll do liquid carbs. I like Roctane, I like Scratch. I think kind of getting carbs in just the whole time while you're drinking is the best way that I've found to not get behind. It's so easy to get behind the whole process, and you already don't feel good. It's like, well, if I'm already going to be drinking, maybe we can get in a little bit along the way. So liquid carbs help a lot.
Sweet. What is the number one biggest beginner mistake that you think there is?
After this last year, I think only running easy I'm going to be one of those people to say like it absolutely has its place, and you've got to run easy to build your base, and everybody's heard that a million times. But I think if I made the mistake, if you only run easy, like your body doesn't know what speed feels like, it doesn't know what that ceiling's like. So you got to do some speed work. You got to incorporate it, even if it's just a small. I mean, it should be a very small section, especially as a brand new beginner, because you're more likely to get hurt. But you got to do some speed work and not only easy stuff.
All right, and let's start a fight.
Okay.
Road or trail?
Ooh, ooh. I'm going trail just for the community, man. Like I think there are. I posted a video about this other day, and it was just talking about like you show up to a road race and like everybody's in tights and sunglasses and it's just super serious. And you go to a trail race and they're all like, "What's up, man? Like, so good to see you. Like, let's have a good time. Let's eat some food." I feel like road races is like, "Hey, like I'm glad you're fast, but as long as I'm faster than you, I'm happy." And then like trail running is very much like, "Hey, let's just try to go run 100 miles in the woods and like let's do it together. Like, do you want to form?" It's like that from Step Brothers. It's like, "Do you want to form an alliance?" Like whatever. It's like, or do we just become best friends? Like that's
You gotta
literally
call me
what trail.
Nighthawk.
That's right. That's what trail running is like. And so I think trail running is
Oh,
just, if you're overwhelmed by road running, give it a try. I think you'll find it's a lot more welcoming.
I love it. I love it. Well, Steve, tell everybody where you can find you and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
promotion.
I mean, primarily Instagram, Ultrafine period running. I think if you look up Stephen Huffine as well, it'll pull up. But that's my main page. I've got Facebook and stuff as well, but I don't post too much on Facebook. And then as far as YouTube, our main documentary so far is called Cross the Line. If you just look up Leadville 100 Cross the Line, that'll pop up. It's got like, I don't know, it's got like 50,000+ views now. It's been wild. So been really cool for people to watch that journey. And so would love for you to follow along. I mean, my page is just all about trying to show real life running and not be somebody else to like. I don't want you to compare yourself to me. I want you to be like, "Oh yeah, like Steven gets it. Like he's up at 3 a.m. Like he feels like trash and he's going to run and like we're making it happen." And so that's the goal of the page. And would love for anybody who listens to this to follow along.
That's awesome, Steve. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for hopping on today. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Pleasure
It was
talking
super
with
nice
you.
to meet
And
you, Brad.
I love your content. Keep it up. And I can't second that enough. His YouTube special, that Cross the Line, is phenomenal. So I really enjoyed it. Go give it a watch. Thanks, Steve.
I
I
really
can't
appreciate it.
wait. You're
Hey,
gonna rip
you need,
Boston, dude.
I appreciate it. Hey, if you ever come to Nashville or if you need a last minute vacation next month, you should come run either the half or the full. It'd be some good training for E-Ray. It's pretty hilly, so
Yeah, sounds good, man. Well, that's a wrap for today. I want to thank Steve big time again for taking time out of his busy schedule and having a chat with me. Not Joe Rogan. First interview, though. Not too bad. Not too bad. I don't know. Anyways, again, thanks for joining me on this podcast. Whether you're on your drive or a shift or taking time out of your busy life just to tune in and listen to me ramble on about running and life and whatever. So go out there, rip some miles, people. Be safe. God bless y'all. And until next time.